Chapter 28. It's actually an S. How is it? The principal asked the 3 examiners. Before the 3 examiners reported the emergence of the dark stone, he said, "Oh, since there's a problem, why don't you let him do the test again? Director Wang, why don't you go to the storage room and grab another star appraisal stone? Although the star appraisal stone is useful, it's just a little fragile. After receiving interference of different energies, it'd start having problems. I'd really like to thank Mrs. Tongyue for finding out the problem with just a glance. You're really covering up for our mistakes." This he was really an old fox. He immediately covered up the matter. Thus, the 3 examiners were simply unable to report the actual problem. Tangyu's brow furrowed. She knew that this matter probably had something to do with he. If she were to make this matter public, the school directors would be quite difficult to deal with. After thinking it over, it would also affect the students' examinations, so it was better if she just left it alone. All right, redo the test. Redo the test. Student Mo Fan, there were some small problems with the star appraisal stone. The grade from before is invalid. We will give you one more chance to redo the examination. The bald examiner held onto a straw of hope as he quickly said this. Mo Fan looked at these people as though he was looking at a group of clowns. You want to play? Keep on playing. This father, I am waiting. Great. Go take the test again. At most, you'll receive a D. How could you receive a B? Third brother, we can once again leave the school in a natural manner, Lu Xiaobing said with excitement. The heavens didn't turn his back on Lu Xiaobing. I'm so thankful that Mrs. Tongyue discovered the problem. Just like I said, how could Mo Fan, a person who has even worse luck than me, have his luck turned over? Mrs. Tongyue, why did you even bother? Giving the student another chance isn't necessarily a good thing. Shui Mesheng didn't know whether to cry or laugh as he said this to Tongyue. So it really was the star appraisal stone malfunctioning. This made Shui Mesheng feel bad. What should be happening was really coming at last. The penalty that no one had received in 3 years was finally going to land on a student in his own class. Haha, how could I, Huang Feifeng, possibly be at the very bottom? Mrs. Tongyue, you are a hero. I really admire you, Huang Feifeng said, as if he was relieved of a burden. On the other side, Mu Bai's dog of a henchman was also extremely happy. Almost scared the hell out of me. I really thought this drag was making a comeback. Even I, Zhao Kunsen, have only gotten a B. Good, Mu Bai. This broken star appraisal stone almost secured the kid's entrance. I've come to realize that Mrs. Tongyue is increasingly more like the lover of my dreams. Zhao Kunsen wiped the cold sweat off himself as he continued, Oh, Mu Bai. Why do you still have such a long face? Didn't they say that he only received a B due to the malfunction of the star appraisal stone? Don't worry, he will definitely get out of here. Could you shut up, you're annoying? Mu Bai snapped, as his mood was exceedingly bad. Zhao Kunsen withdrew. He didn't know how he had offended his master. The examination of the other classes had basically ended. Due to the examination of the 8th class having some problems, many of the people began to gather around them, including the top students of the other classes. At this time, Mo Fan accidentally became the focus point of everyone. All right, Mo Fan, you may redo your exam. Mrs. Tongyue, you've also inspected it. There shouldn't be any problems this time, right? The bald examiner asked with a flattering smile. No, there isn't, Mrs. Tongyue replied. Her dark eyes might have scorched his face for all the friendliness in them. Mo Fan once again stood in front of the star appraisal stone. This time, he didn't feel a cold air coming off of it. It really was Mu Bai's fault. Mo Fan humphed coldly. Thankfully, the sexiest and most enchanting Mrs. Tongyue discovered this so early, or else Mo Fan would appear to be lower than a piece of poop in front of the school directors. Mo Fan closed his eyes and placed his hands on top of the star appraisal stone. The cold star appraisal stone quickly turned warm from the circulation of Mo Fan's stardust energy. The radiance began to intensify, and the scarlet radiance looked as though it was burning from within. The radiance this time didn't suffer from any kind of suppression as it was released. It spread around the star appraisal stone, and it even began to leak out of it. This radiance. The first one to reveal an incredibly surprised face was precisely Mu Zhouyan. The principal, vice principal, the disciplinary teachers, and the school directors also widened their eyes. The radiance is flowing out. The homeroom teacher, Shui Masheng, was thoroughly flabbergasted. After being a teacher for so many years, how could he not see the meaning behind the overflowing radiance? In this entire school, only Mu Bai had achieved the state of overflowing radiance. It was not just because the flames were already relatively bright, but the overflowing of the fire radiance was even a bit stronger than Mu Bai's ice radiance. Damn! The surrounding students from other classes, and the students from the 8th class were all trampled to near death by the word, damn, in their hearts. Overflowing radiance. This really is overflowing radiance. A student who was considered a weak-minded dreg had actually achieved the state of overflowing radiance. S. It's S. It really seems to be S. How about we inspect it once more? Crazy. The bald-headed director Wang and the other 2 examiners had gone crazy. The classmates who thought that Mo Fan would get swept out of the school had also gone crazy. Shit, this is the real malfunctioning of the star appraisal stone. How could that guy's cultivation be at this kind of level? It's an illusion. It must be an illusion. I refuse to believe it. The water element student Xiaobing was wailing like a ghost. What happened to us leaving the school together? Let's forget about the fact that you didn't honor your title as a failure of a student, but you even became a divine student. This time there will be no one who will stop me in my way. This daddy, I will jump into the river. If Mo Fan can become a divine student, then I, a water elemental magician, probably can drown to death? The normally expressionless Mu Ningzhu was completely showing her emotions at this time. That's right, not even she imagined that the final result would be like this. For a person like Mo Fan that didn't have any particularly special talent, or a family property, receiving a B was already quite normal. However, he achieved overflowing radiance, the overflowing radiance of the fire element. That was already one level ahead of Mu Bai, who had received resources from his family. For some reason, Mu Ningzhu's heart bloomed with a sunshine that was like the overflowing radiance coming from the fire element. That really causes one to feel extremely shocked. I almost missed out on an even more remarkable student, a school director exclaimed in admiration after seeing this event. That's right. I don't dare to imagine what kind of disaster would be brought over if we were to only give him a B while also causing our school to lose out on such a prominent magician. Better late than never. Mrs. Tong Yue, we are really grateful to your ability to spot details. As Mrs. Tong Yue saw the school directors flattering her, she only returned a small smile. The truth was, even Tong Yue herself was extremely surprised. All this time, she had been thinking that the most outstanding fire elemental student in her class was Zhouman. But to everyone's surprise, this Mo Fan was even more remarkable. The most important thing was that he had always been calmly cultivating, not having the need to compete nor laying himself bare to others. This kind of temperament was very suitable for becoming a magician. Chapter 29 A Beautiful Casting, Fire Burst. The other fire elemental user, Goody Two Shoes girl Zhouman, looked at this overflowing radiance. Her small face was clearly showing her disbelief. This student whom she always loathed for not making progress, he was actually stronger than Mu Bai. She had actually been making a mistake this entire time? All of their shock, all of their disbelief, were actually far inferior to the defeated look on Mu Bai's face. This expression couldn't even be described as an expression, this was practically just a whole distortion. Even his cramping facial muscles were twitching. What was worse than being completely flipped over by the person they hated the most? The dog of a henchman, Zhao Kunsen, rubbed his eyes over and over again. However, what he saw was still the overflowing radiance. The superiority he was displaying toward Mo Fan was completely obliterated, making him seem like a comical retard, looking all lofty in the middle of the people. S. Final result is S. The highest score in school was S. However, everyone was very clear on the fact that the magical capabilities within Mo Fan's stardust were probably higher than Mu Bai by a bit. Mo Fan, do you wish to continue the exam? Naturally. Mo Fan gave a slight smile. This daddy, I, have been waiting for this for a long time. Man, if it wasn't for the world changing, then I would have already reached this level during the high school examination. Fortunately, the outcome is still good. Mo Fan naturally wanted to test his activation. Wasn't most of the people bitterly cultivating just so they can appear as that little gold in front of others, glinting and shining? Fire burst. His entire aura was moving. After Mo Fan said his incantation, his whole bearing was very self-confident. A searing aura frantically spread from the central point of Mo Fan's body, washing over the cheeks of hundreds of people. The feeling of the scorching heat was very distinct. The fire star path quickly mobilized around Mo Fan's body after he finished the arrangement of the stars. The obtrusive scarlet red and the staggering fire. The flame scuttled forth from the half-clenched hand of Mo Fan, just like a vicious and impatient animal. Go! As he waved his hand, the flames streaked across the exam grounds like a dazzling scarlet fire remnant. It accurately made its way into the human-shaped puppet's body. Burn! He raised his hand up high. After a second of silence, the vicious fire suddenly blasted forth from inside the puppet's body. The more it burned, the more vicious it was. That raging fire engulfed the puppet in a matter of seconds. The reflection of the flames was visible on Mo Fan's face. His face was smiling, and his confidence was soaring. This was Fire Burst, the fire force he was in control of. There was no need to mention its charm. After finishing all of this, Mo Fan turned around. Every single person was dumbstruck. The teachers, students, directors, they hadn't even completely recovered their senses from the S grade he had gotten from his previous examination. However, then they saw Mo Fan's extremely smooth casting of Fire Burst. There was no hesitation, and neither was it forced. Additionally, the speed he had completed it at was even faster than Mu Bai. The fire element's primary spell was much more violent than the ice element. That was why the reaction of the people was much more intense than Mu Bai's ice spread after Mo Fan finished the casting of Fire Burst. Not only was it Mo Fan's beautiful turnaround, but it was also because of the boundless power of his fire elemental aura. Give your marks. Mo Fan glanced at the astonished examiners as he said this in a natural manner. A, B, A. The grades for the casting test were immediately announced. As expected, Mo Fan's grades were higher than Mu Bai's. Mu Bai was already so angry that he felt as though he was about to get a heart attack. If this continued, then he really would stop breathing. How could it be like this? This didn't conform with the script. Both of the scores were higher than Mu Bai's. Is this really the Mo Fan that we know? This really is the most amazing turnaround in history. He became a divine student in just a second. It's really blinding my dog eyes. Xu Qinglin said. Shui Musheng's mouth had a crooked smile. He didn't care about the enmity between Mo Fan and Mu Bai. His class suddenly popped up a student with the S grade, and his grades for the activation test were the highest. If everything went well, then wouldn't he be number one in the entire school? From last place all the way to first place. I'm afraid there's nothing more shocking than this. It's like a dream. Other than him being number one, Mu Bai should be able to steadily settle into the second place. Thus, the first and second ranked students were in his class. This would give him a promotion. As expected of the Mu family. Brother Mu Joyan, you really had our small-scaled magician organization have an eye-opening experience. If I remember correctly, this Mo Fan is the son of the driver at your manor. Being in a large, noble family sure is great. You even unconsciously influenced a preeminent student in Bo City. Deng Kai from the Hunters Union said. Mu Joyan looked at Deng Kai. Deng Kai was in the upper echelon of the Hunters Union, and at the same time, he was also a director of Tianlan Magic High. Amongst the school directors, his cultivation was the highest, and his strength was also the greatest. As school director, Deng Kai was praising. The other school directors were incessantly sighing. You can't help but to admire that. A son of a driver is already this amazing. He's comparable to the magic seedlings which they have carefully raised. Mu Joyan was slowly coming back to his senses from being shocked. He really didn't think that this Mo Fan would have some ability. Right now, he even heard praise coming from the people in his circle. His face immediately lit up. As his mood got better, Mu Joyan's heart also began to ponder. Mu Ningzhu had carried the flag for the family for many years. However, the other direct successors and branch disciples all required support from the family. Only this way were they able to consolidate power within the family. The Mu family was very short in magicians who specialized in the fire element. Although this kid had done things that had caused him to feel incomparably angry, he was just young and inexperienced. It had already been so many years since then. There was no need to continue investigating this. It was about time to give some benefit to this kid so he would start to serve the Mu family. He would definitely not approach Mu Ningzhu. However, he could send him to his eldest son, Mu Zhangming, and nurture him into a remarkable fire element henchman. That was not a bad plan. A talented person still needed to be recruited. Mu Joyan stroked his beard, feeling somewhat happy. After seeing Mo Fan exiting the examination ground, he opened his mouth to say, "Mo Fan, come here." Mo Fan glanced at Mu Joyan. He wasn't sure what this old scoundrel wanted from him. With some hesitation, Mo Fan walked over in front of the directors. His eyes couldn't help but take a glance at Mu Ningzhu. Damn, I haven't seen this girl in so many years. How come she looks so beautiful? Mu Joyan humphed. Mu Ningzhu also moved her gaze away. Mo Fan also withdrew his gaze. You called? Mo Fan raised his head and looked at Mu Joyan's tall and sturdy physique. In front of others, Mo Joyan would have a whiff of the prestige of a king, causing them to feel even afraid to breathe in front of him. Mo Fan was different. Other than raising a beautiful daughter, his entire body instead emitted the aura of an old scoundrel.